universities and institutions across Europe. We have all come out of previous projects on the last Horizon 2020 call. So basically, we have ourselves, Belfast Met. We are leading the project as well as leading on work package 6, which is the trials, and my colleague Eduardo is going to give a bit more detail and explanation about the trials and the platform after I do this introduction. We've got our friends here at TU Dublin and hosting us this morning. So they were with us on the previous project, BIM Cert. You may recognise, some of you may recognise that name. We've ISSO joined by Jan. And going to speak later today about some of their work, who works alongside building changes. We've got KEA, James is going to be sharing some insights into where he sees construction heading and the potential issues or challenges, shall we say, in the next few years. We're also joined called today by Diana. Diana's from IECE in North Macedonia. And then we also have the Architects Council of Europe. I can't see who's on the call at the moment. I'm not sure Larissa was planning to join with us. We've got Technical Lisboa in IST in Lisbon, and then we also have IBEMI and Building Smart Italy represented as well. And basically we came together with the idea of looking at developing some of the training platforms and training methodologies that we had been considering in separate projects before this particular project. And part of the main driving force of that is, as we'll all know and appreciate in terms of those on this call, hopefully today, the AEC sector is a significant contributor to CO2 emissions, varying between 20 to 30%, depending on the figures that you take and consider. Europe is obviously moving regulations and standards to reduce the impact of new buildings. We also need to consider the impact of existing buildings, and obviously there is the drive to the net zero targets of 2050. What we wanted to do was look at how some of the current and emerging digital tools that are available to engineering and construction and design professionals could be able to help achieve those new standards, improve traditional workflows, and also narrow that gap between the design and the as-built performance. So basically what we want to do with the platform is provide, firstly was look at providing a training framework, recognising a range of competencies across the sector from each level, so from site workers through to design, through to clients, through to local authorities, and then the end building users and managers of those buildings. We wanted to make sure that we could provide training in those competency areas, 24/7 availability, on demand, whenever they're needed most. We're looking at this idea of transferable skills to make sure that not only are the workforce mobile, but they've also got the same skills across Europe to address this emerging issue in terms of energy efficiency. And we're also looking at some introduction to legislative changes. How can we drive these changes? And if we're being honest, it's usually through legislation is when we sit up and take notice. And certainly as a college, we noticed that with the introduction of the UK mandate, and we're seeing that in other partner regions as well. When mandates come along, people generally sit up and take notice. Key area that I mentioned already is this idea of skills. We wanted the skills to be bite-sized and to be able to be built upon, so that it is part of a process. It's part of Eduardo will talk about the gamification. So we're looking at a way of trying to encourage and I suppose incentivize people to want to develop their skills, to understand and appreciate the need for the skills, first of all, but in terms of the digitalization and the environmental benefits of that, but then also demystify some of the aspects of it, because most of us are concerned about change. Most of us will be resistant to change. So we want to make it as easy as possible. One of the first work packages that ISSO and Building Changes looked at was this idea of the various competencies and producing a matrix of competencies to divide the work up into different groups or areas of digitalization. So you can see there in the graphics here, we've basically got 4 different areas. So we have BIM Basics, which is an understanding of what BIM is and how we implement it. And we've got BIM support rules, we've got BIM utilization rules, and then we have BIM application rules. So it's support and use and then implement. And all of this is underpinned by the need to improve energy efficiency by using these digital tools to improve the energy performance and outputs of our buildings. So within each of those groups and areas, we developed a range of set of specialities, and they should be appearing on the screen now. So for the BIM basics, we recognise out of our initial projects in the previous round of research that we carried out, that actually one of the key components that didn't quite understand the benefits of BIM and digitalization were clients. So we looked there, or we have a module there about just the understanding of what BIM can do. So the clients come with a better appreciation of why it's worth engaging a team that are utilising these skills. Then we move into the support role, and that's your project and data managers and your system administration. Then we've got our BIM utilisation, where they're using or transferring the data, and that's for capturing representation, planning, simulation, energy quantification and so forth. And then we have our applications, so we have our BIM managers, project managers, coordinators, those doing the modelling and carrying out the programming. So it's aiming to be inclusive. Without getting into too much detail within that, we then developed a series of ways that we would deliver task-based training. We would have unique learning outcomes, which would be specific objectives that can be delivered in micro modules and small sections. So basically, if you work this from the top bottom up rather than top down, rather than the specialism, we have a series of professionals with different learning outcomes that then develop into a completed task, and then again the specialism within that area. So the specialism can be built up over a series of tasks rather than focusing on the ultimate specialism, and it also allows for transferability then of some of those skills to other roles. So basically you've got your required tasks, your subtasks. That gives you the unique learning outcome, and then that upskills a worker and gives them the mobility to move to a new task, new role, and again, there may be further training involved with that, and that's how they can build up their individual specialism and particular roles. The training plans are relatively detailed. We're not going to go into them in significant detail. We just take an example here of the BIM coordinator role. You'll see there that there's meso training plans, so those are particular tasks. Those are further supported then by the subtasks, and then there's the unique learning outcomes, and those provide the bite-sized elements. And on the right-hand side there, after you see the professions, so that's who each of those tasks are specifically aimed at in terms of roles, and then obviously those particular roles can be built up with the micro modules and developed into other training plans and competencies. So basically we wanted something that was adoptable, was encouraging to learners, that once they complete a specific aspect of training, they know that they're on a certain pathway, but that pathway is flexible and may change if their role or their tasks on site or within the office change as well. So it's about promoting that gradual increase of skills, encouraging, and then through the use of gamification that Eduardo will explain on the platform, it's about gently bringing people along with us and trying to manage that change transition for people and make it something that is achievable. The aim within all of the progressions is to make sure that we are working alongside the BIM maturity stages, because obviously that is recognised as one of the main transitions and workflows for how we're going to change traditional workflows into more of a digital collaborative workflow. You can see on the next slide here just an example of some of those particular tasks. So in this one here within the BIM coordinator, organising the checking of the models, there's a particular task there that looks at how they check and verify a federated model to identify and control clashes. And this particular task, then we've got an energy efficiency task here. Again, the energy efficiency, understand the benefits, and BIM tools can bring to energy efficiency. So looking there, the learning outcome is how BIM can act as an enabler towards energy efficient design. I appreciate that this has been a rather quick run through. We wanted to focus a bit more time on the platform and try to encourage people to go and look at the platform. But if you're able to scan the QR code there, it will take you through to a survey and ask you some questions about the principle of what we're trying to do with the project and whether you agree with that, and some of the framework. There's some questions there about the framework, and we would certainly appreciate your feedback, even at this stage, as we come near project close, if you have any consideration or comments that you would like us to take on board today. I'm going to hand over now to Eduardo. Eduardo is going to take a look at the training platform and give some feedback that we've already received during the trials, but also give you an opportunity to avail of the trials material as well. So, Eduardo.
Good morning, everyone. So, Kanji said we would appreciate, even at this stage, after this presentation, anyone that wants to contribute with comments and suggestions, or just your thumbs up approval on our approach to the framework as a valid approach, possibly not the only one, but one that definitely would be useful for the industry. In terms of the platform, just a few stats at the moment. So we have currently more than 3,800 users on the platform from several countries. So we have over 250 on UK, more than 60 users in Ireland, around 50 on North Macedonia, 2,600 users in Portugal, again, because of probably with the logic having a BIM mandate coming into action, it forces the industry to seek skills. And more than, I think now, currently as we stand, we have more than 3,000 badges already issued. So those are a couple of stats of the platform at the moment. We've been trialing the platform for a period and received feedback from users. So generally, we have received, for the most part, positive feedback in terms of material, the way it's organized, and the navigation and the type of courses. The idea, like Andrew said, is to break down that framework into small micro modules, small bite size, that allows a training progression that's not only linear. So you could do the framework kind of define areas of specialisms, but those may not suit a specific individual or the type of task that they have to do on their role currently. So the way that this has been designed is that framework can be broken down into small chunks, and everybody can take at their own choice the micro module, the skills that are more relevant at that stage, while having an aim for a higher achievement or a different pathway. But everyone can kind of travel their course depending on the needs and their job ability. There'll be several levels. So people can go into different bespoke entry points. So people that already have knowledge on BIM basics and just want to start implementing can go to BIM support, which is slightly more advanced. Someone that already started the journey and now want to start doing some more practical tasks can go to, for example, the BIM modeling or the 5D type of module. So it has different possibilities in terms of the pathways. As you go along, it's an inbuilt gamification into the platform. So the more skills you gain, the more micro modules you complete, you start to have a badge system. So you'll have a dashboard, and you can compare your progress with the professionals. And the more you complete modules, the more badges you earn inside the platform. You also get what we call experience points. So every module will have a specific number of experience points. So if you complete the module, you're almost like a CPD, you're building experience with it. But then even within the modules, besides the overall XP points, then there's going to be additional ones for specific tasks. So within a module to gain a skill, you may be required to complete a certain amount of tasks, but then there might be extras almost when we have a game, those extra quests you can go to that will increase your points. You can get those extra XP points through it, and depending on how well you perform, you can eventually even earn some stars. So it has a bit of a competitive flair into it. Okay. Also, some of those activities could be unlocked once you complete or achieve a certain experience points. Then more features could be open or become available. So it rewards progression and it rewards engagement. It's accessible online 24/7, either on tablets, computers, mobile phones. And that's how you can get to the platform. So whoever's here this morning that may have not initiated your kind of routes with us, I would invite kindly everyone to maybe scan the QR code or use the direct link there. And whoever has not created a profile on the platform. Today is possibly the opportunity to do it right now. So if you follow this QR code or the Rise platform.eu, will get you to the platform, and enrolling is easy. So if you're a trainee, you click on the trainee button on the top, you click on create new account, and there will be a questionnaire form to fill in. Okay. I recognize that the registration form is a bit long, and it asks a few questions about your role in the industry, your current skills and qualifications, what type of projects you work in, the average size, and that's for us to allow to do metrics in terms of the state of the industry and how you're going to apply your skills going forward. Okay. Once you create your account, it will send a email to your email address that you put onto your account. You validate it, and then you log in, and you have access to the courses. So within that, you can see on the left-hand side of the trainee, there's course list. So you can access the course list there, look at the modules in all of one, and this is more or less how it will look once you're on your dashboard. So you'll see the number of points that you have collected. For example, if you have enrolled several modules, it will give you a preview of the maximum amount of XP points that you can earn, and also the ones that you have achieved so far. Same thing with the badges, how much you can possibly achieve and how many you have, and the same thing with stars. So the idea of the platform is that with these micro modules to be able to have a stepped and assisted progression that's achievable and with specific goalposts. So sometimes whenever professionals, especially people on the job, have not very much time, sometimes the courses are too long and people kind of can't complete them. This way, it's easy to establish short-term goals, build your skills, and as you accumulate those ones, you can progress further. Okay. If you click on the course list, okay, you have the modules, which is the micro byte size. They'll indicate more or less an average time that takes to complete it, okay, based on the amount of activities and the evaluation. It may take less time, depending. You can delve more time into it if you want to really engage in the material, but with an estimate of the time required will give you how many badges you can earn and the XPs. Okay, so to click it, you just click on one of those modules. It will ask you to enroll. You click enroll, and then it will ask you just to confirm to make sure that you didn't click by mistake to add to your courses. And once you click on that, once you go to your dashboard, any course that you place enroll in Add My Courses will appear on this course list. And as you complete it, you'll see the progression bar that will tell you how far off you are from actually completing one of those modules. You also have the training plans next to it. So the training plans are those kind of more enlarged pathways where you have collected a certain specific combination of micro modules, and that builds up to your subtasks and to your tasks, and eventually to your specialism. So the size of those training plans can vary from micro training plans to meso to macro, depending on the amount of module required. Okay. Within a module, once you go to the modules, they're usually organized in an easy way to follow, so you don't need too much support. We'll have an intro description, usually about the module and how to complete it and what to expect. Then we have an introduction. Then we'll have a set of materials that can vary depending on the nature of the course. It could be a set of recorded tutorials, it could be informative videos, it could be presentations, it could be small booklets, it could be pages of information, it could be the combination of all of those ones. Okay, and depending on the subject, you may have a summary review if it's applicable, and you always will have an assessment. You may have some formative assessment depending on the modules to give you a bit of more practical practice, and then there's also final assessment to be able to complete the module and get you the accreditation. And sometimes you'll have also bibliography to other things. In terms of the possibility of training, we work with TU Dublin developing the materials. So you could have videos. In some cases, there's a possibility the platform will allow for role-playing activities, audio-visual aids if required, and if it's more interactive, and it's like a blended delivery with the tutor, you can have group activities, exercise, and games. So there's the platform has been designed to allow all this type of learning formats, and the whole idea then is to use the platform to drive digitalization on our industry. Again, I'm just sharing the QR code to go to the platform and the link to it. And also I have a link to the RISE project, where if you want to learn more about the objectives or see some of the deliverables done so far, you can get more information about the RISE project. You will also have, on the platform, for any doubts or queries, you will have the contact us on the top, okay? If you're not logged in. If you're logged in on the platform as a user, the easiest way in both your mobile phones or on the computer is if you scroll all the way down to the very end of the page, there'll be a banner on the bottom, and it will have also a contact link. And if you use that contact link, you contact us, okay? So I advise everyone who has already come on Let's Learning with us to keep on track and complete more modules. There'll be at least 40 micro modules available by the end of the RISE project for you to uptake. And for the ones that is the first time that are with us, I welcome you to RISE and kind of advise you to have your training with us.
Apologies, it's rather remiss of me to not introduce our speakers whenever we started earlier, so a bit of a fluster. So we have got 3 speakers joining us today, 2 in the room and 1 joining online. So the first speaker we have is James Harty, and James will be looking at how we anticipate and adopt to future industry trends. We are then going to hear from Jan Cromwijk from ISSO, and he is looking at no transition without proper skills and timing. And knowing some of the work that Jan has been involved with and seeing some of that, I'm looking forward to what he has to say there. And thirdly, we're joined in the room by Jonathan Reinhardt, and he's going to look at AI in construction. We were looking at topics for this a couple of months ago, and AI had kind of been on our mind. I was at the digital conference in Belfast last week, and AI was basically coming up in every speaker's talk at some point in the way, so I think we're on point at the moment. So I know we're a little bit ahead of time, James. I'm sure you could maybe fill in that time, but I'm going to hand over to James. I'll let you introduce yourself in a bit more detail, but I was sharing on Thursday at the conference because we were speaking about RISE and also giving a bit of perspective locally in terms of Belfast and Met and what we have been doing. And it was actually back in 2016, 2017 we first met. And I remember meeting this guy where they were switching off or not teaching 2D CAD anymore. And I remember coming from the context of where we are, it's like, what is this guy on and what's he doing? 7 years later, all I can say is I wish I'd done it sooner. Because I personally can see the benefits in the work that I do, and certainly we're seeing the benefits with our students. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you reckon we should be anticipating and adopting to next. And I'm already concerned that I'm probably 5 years behind you. So over to you, James, and you can do your introductions and hopefully be able to share screen. So
you're too kind, Andrew. Thank you very much for the invitation. Yes, my name is James Harty. I'm Irish, but I'm based in Copenhagen, in the Copenhagen School of Design and Technology. And back in 2006, we took a decision to drop AutoCAD and to spring over to Revit. So we were one of the first people to do this, and people looked at us as if we had 2 heads. Today, I can't get my students back. They've been pulled right, left, and everywhere. So now I'm going to begin with a presentation that I made at the BIM Summit in Dublin a few weeks ago. So this is anticipating and adapting to future industry trends. In the first part, I'm going to outline what we're being challenged with. And in the second part, I'm going to go into the skill sets that we need and how Arise can provide us with these skill sets at a time a good time to be coming in on the market. All the images that are shown here are student work, and this is from an elective where we were doing transformation of a building using Dynamo to generate our forms. So they're a bit dynamic and out of this world, but that's something to look at. So I'll begin. First off, as Andrew rightly said, is artificial intelligence is making a huge impact in our industry. My student deliverables are using GPT in anything and everything, from drawings to reports to you name it. And so if we do not attend to this new position, then the education will reduce to at least, or at best, a 2-year bachelor's degree. In the bigger picture, and this has an impact for the industry, financial institutions will see no purpose in soliciting all work stages and paying for each handover when they can go direct to the digital twin and save money. So what I mean by this is that we're looking at a situation where my cloud as client can talk to your cloud as design team, can talk to the municipality's cloud as authorizing authority, and they can just do all the interactions without human intervention. Now, this sounds scary. Is it going to take our jobs? And this is where I'm going to go with this presentation of where we are, what it means, and where we have to go to. So machine learning engages neural networks, similar to human learning, but not. I go down to the bottom there. It's difficult to square human learning, given that a child can make intelligent decisions with a smattering of information, whereas machine learning needs to have millions and millions of data points in order to begin to see what is a cat or what is a car. What I will say, and I'll come back to it later, is you can drive a Tesla now without having to drive. So the machine can get there if it wants to, and that's proof positive that it's happening. We're in a disruptive technology. John Tobin said, BIM is a disruptive technology in contrast to CAD, and brings very different value network to the AEC industry. Where BIM sows information in a model, VDC largely harvests that information for downstream use, including commissioning, management, and logistics. Now, this is important because if we're going to go to the bother of making a 3D model, then if we're not using it, then we might as well, throw it out the window. So if we use 3D to give us our 4D, 5D, 6D, and all the various Ds, then that's where the win-win situation is, and that's where we begin to see the benefit of modeling and what it can do for us. Disruptive technology merges. It affects our mainstream. Its effect on our mainstream is not always clear. What we might see is at early stages of disruption in those early stages, it's difficult to know what the effects would be. We don't have the breadth of vision to see where and for whom the benefits of BIM will emerge just now. That was 2016. I think the picture is becoming more clarified now, but again, it's up for discussion. We have the ubiquitous Internet of Things, which, because we have handheld devices, we're beginning to see that machines are talking to each other, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not. They can find who's in the room, they can see who has got what, they can see what it is. And this is all data being collated. And we don't know yet if it's been managed or if it's only been 5% managed or what's happening. It is a new world. We are seeing the emergence of common data environments, and this is to be lauded. CDEs such as Dalux or BIM 360 or just having QR codes on site is beginning to allow us to have a single updated file at all times. It means it's optimized with automation and controlled by applications, de facto blockchain, which I'll come back to. And a good example in Ireland is CISC, where they're on site, they use QR codes all the time. And this means that they can have people up to speed and up to date in a matter of no time at all. So it is happening. We need to be on the bus when it leaves. We're also seeing smart levels of insight work increasingly. We're also seeing the emergence of virtual reality. Virtual reality is an immersive world where realistic images, sounds, and other sensations are generated to create an artificial environment for the user. It can be via a headset, goggles, or even in caves, and it can be populated by avatars which are becoming better and better and more realistic. It's a computer-generated environment with scenes and objects that appear to be real, making the user feel they are submerged in their surroundings. This is very important when you have a client, which, as Andrew said earlier, is the people we need to have on board next in order to make this thing happen. Besides virtual reality, we also have artificial reality. This is virtual reality which is imposed onto the real world. So we're beginning to see an immersive area where the two things are put on top of each other, so the user can begin to interact and see accurately what the impact of what the two worlds are going to be. It happens seamlessly. Related to this is a mixed reality, which is similar again. I'm sorry, they're all very similar terms, but in a mixed reality, you also have the ability to introduce agents so that you can have different things happen to different requests, and so you can actually see the impact of different options, and etc. Through all of this, we need a single source of truth. BIM is seen as the ether that brought painless collaboration. Blockchain brings the soothing oil that makes the cogs effortlessly engage with each other. So rather than pitching us into a world of too much data and you're overflowed, blockchain can begin to make sense of it for you. And this is called the single source of truth. It removes the posturing and evasive behaviors rampant across the industry. It reduces risk because it monitors critical events and reports on underspends or overspends, on being ahead of schedule or behind, and the quality of the finished work. So what blockchain is doing is it stops deep fakes coming in, it stops lies being told, it stops people making accusations that they cannot back up. One of the areas, if I don't want to sound too gloomy, but one of the areas which will see us be promoted and pitched into the future is under innovation. It's an area that offers great potential in the adopting of recycling or upcycling of what is regarded today as waste. Some people would say we're building too much, we have to stop, we have to transform what we have. But what we certainly have to do is we have to make better use of waste. Construction industry accounts for 38 to 40% of energy, and there's an awful lot of waste in there as well. There are no proper methods for assessing waste. Currently, if you want to reuse a brick in a new building, then it's very hard to assess the quality of that brick. Is it old? And so the mechanisms for you to reuse stuff is still in its infancy, but it's an area that will grow and expand, and it's an area that we as humans are going to be using our creative grey matter to see better ways of using stuff. Our education will transform drastically in the next 5 years. In the next 2 to 3 years, there will be a pedagogic transition where the students will use new tools, namely artificial intelligence and machine learning, to make all their deliverables. There is merit in this, and it will be positive. But in 5 years' time, machine learning will provide everything without the need for human invention. It's a good point for discussion. We'll come back to it at the end. The design team will dovetail with the municipality for all planning issues, and the tender will be awarded through pre-qualification and a certain quality required and delivered. Financial institutes will appropriate costings and reap the benefit of a sharper, better-honed product. I'm going to finish this first part of where we are right now with one of my students' works recently called the Poppelhuis. And what he's done here, he's taken his 3D model into an AI add-on in Revit called Veras, V-E-R-A-S. And Veras will give him this super rendering where you can define what the background is, you can find the lighting, and you can see how it just lifts everything you're working with. At the exam, the external censor wrote this down and says, I'm bringing that back to my office. We're going to employ it tomorrow. You can go in and test it for free. You get 20 images and a trial period of 20 days or something. So go have a look at it, Veras. So that's where we are now. So next part is looking at what Arise can do to help us with our learning platform. As you heard in our first speaker from Andrew and Eduardo, this is a program about skill sets. It's an app that allows you to improve your skill sets, and it's something that we want to promote and see out there. And it has a lot of very good advantages, which I might be repeating myself, but they're worth repeating because what we are producing is an excellent app. Skill sets can be the ability to work in an interdisciplinary team. It can be an appreciation of diversity. It can be basic knowledge. It can be capacity for analysis. It can be generating new ideas. It can be critical, self-critical abilities, decision-making, interpersonal skills, and knowledge of a second language even. It's not comprehensive, but it's a good starting point for what a skill set is. What is a skill? We need to inspire demand for sustainable energy skills by providing clear learning interactions, transparency of upskilling transactions, and a recognition of qualifications achieved. And this is what our app is aiming to do. Today's millennials require training and upskilling beyond taking notes and sitting exams. They need education that is task-based, enabling them to think for themselves and solve problems in real time. The skills delivery method needs to be dynamic rather than static. Upskilling is not an option, but a necessity. There is concern across Europe. The European Construction Sector Observatory reports that 85% of all EU jobs need basic digital skills. 8.6 million people across Europe in the public sector are predicted not to have the necessary skills by 2030. Let that sink in. There is a demand for an ability, even in your education or post your education, to reskill or upskill or go back to something to get something that you feel you now need and don't have. There is a demand and supply skill mismatch. The skill supply mechanisms are not meeting demands. This results in skill shortages. Opportunities are being missed. We are not reaching the vocationally excluded. Vocational mobility is being restricted because the workforce does not have skill visas. And this comes out of a skill shortages and gaps report in Europe. Skills matter. We must address the urgency of upskilling and reskilling. We need to transform our education interface. We need to improve the core processes of skill delivery and training. We need to leverage data and technology processes to fill customer expectations and industry needs. We need to remove friction from the skills interface. And I like the little comment here. The only thing worse than training your employees and having them leave is not training them and having them stay. Henry Ford said that. We are using gamification. Adaptive learning develops a unique education model with personal pathways. Gamification stimulates and engages, which removes friction from the process. We're looking at task-based outcomes. So as said earlier, we're enabling micro-learning, we're facilitating fast upskilling, we're enabling personal recognition, and we're offering units of learning outcomes. So these are the bricks that is allowing us to deliver this. And what was said earlier, but which is very important in our app, is we allow 4 levels. We allow a self-assessment. This is very important. So when you log on and fill in the questions we ask you, we are able to give you an appreciation from a scale of 1 to 10 that are you a beginner or an expert, as a BIM manager, as a client, as a technician, as an engineer, as an architect. We have the building blocks in there to give you an overview from a peer viewpoint of, am I good? Do I need more? Am I a beginner or am I an expert? Level 2 is we will give you an overview of the skills gaps. So it could be that you are 80% towards getting a building smart accreditation. We will point to you that if you take these 3 modules here, you qualify for it. We can say that you can be in a company that wants all their employees to have a skill set. So does the secretary need to have the same skill set as the CEO? We can absolutely fine tune it so that we can give you an overview of your personal skill gaps and where you need to go if you want to be up to speed from where we want you to be. This means that we can make a personal plan for you. We can monitor, are you following the personal plan? We might see that you're 80% through the plan, but you've stagnated. We can prompt you that maybe you should come back to it. And finally, we can identify the milestones. So as you reach each milestone in your upskilling, we can identify it and we can award it. Initially, I was saying with a coin, but as the project has gone on, this has now become a badge. And this is very important because we are rewarding what you've done. We're also assessing what you need. This is critical to the Arise app. Arise is developing an open competency-based qualification scheme based on maturity levels that empower micro-learning so that learning transactions count. We create a system for issuing, verifying, and sharing micro-credentials for learning credits, creating a digital platform allowing learners to store credentials while enabling them to share them with educational institutions or employers. What's important here is they have the control, so it's up to you who you share with. It revolutionizes the learning process by monetizing the skills and learning exchange with a system based on skill recognition rather than accreditation. Being able to monetize the system is most important because as well as having a trainee system, we also have a trainer system. And that means that once we get launched and go out public, in any other app, it is history from a launch date because you cannot
Jan Cromwijk, and I'm going to take you in a presentation about transition. And the title says it all. It's going about no transition without proper skills and timing. And I will start with a part of a presentation that is based on the Connect research from Techniek Nederland. It's a Dutch branch organization in the installation technology. And they have researched why a successful transition needs IT or needs it, depending on what you would like to say. A small introduction to the research. It's done regularly, and it's a kind of a forecasting to 2030, 2040, 2025. They are organizing hackathons to involve students, and based on that, they published several reports. And one of the reports that is in preparation, it's not yet published, it will be published in November, is about the digital transition and what it consists of and why skills are essential in order to deliver that transition. Sometimes I will repeat a bit what has been said by the other speakers, but that's not a problem because repeating stuff is good for the learning curve. So don't bother it. Just take the opportunity to learn as much as you can. The transition is happening. It means that digital technology is developing rapidly. Artificial intelligence, robotization, industrialization are coming up. It's happening around the field, as James already illustrated, quite convincing to us. Technology also faces a major social implementation challenge. And that's a very important one, because without social acceptance, without social implementation, the technology in itself does not deliver value. For example, when the steam engine enters the field, it took one generation of managers, so roughly about 30 years, to unlock the power of the steam engine. And maybe that's a message to us and also to the managers currently active in the field. Don't be shy, just make sure that the implementation challenge is addressed. And it's also important to ask questions like, how can we do the work even better? And what new opportunities does the transition offer to us? Because every technology can or have to deliver value, because otherwise it's a waste. The world in 2030, there is quite a lot of technological progress. There are societal changes happening on the fly, as we know all, because there have been many in the last 10 years. And the question is, what happens then to the people and their expertise? Because when you put them in the triangle, technology interacts with humans, technology interacts with society, humans interact with society, and together we have to create the value in order to make sure that technology performs for us and not for people with strange goals that you don't want to follow, for example. What powers the transition? In the research done, they have done desktop research, workshops and expert interviews, and related to the three terms, AI, robotization, and industrialization, they found in the Netherlands roughly 73 terms that are branded often within the field of expertise. And they have tried to sort them out because it's a big bunch and it's saying a lot, but in itself, it's also saying not that much. So each concept was described, it was explained, and it was structured into 43 concepts. Quite a lot on AI, quite a lot on robotization, And the biggest terms on industrialization, because in the end there the money is being made. Although when it comes to AI, when they started the research 1 year ago, AI was on the bottom of the research tab. And during the last year, it climbed up very high speed to the top of the rankings. So it seems that AI is really making a big leap forward. And it's also integrated in all parts, in robotization, in industrialization. So it's becoming a really essential element. In order to give it a bit more body, they further bundled the concepts. And that means that the 43 trends were merged into 7 concepts. A few fully focused on AI, generative AI, hybrid AI, computer vision, multipurpose robotization, mass customization, the industrial metaverse that James already has introduced to us, and also augmented working. And there you can see that the transition is not a technology on its own. It's an interaction between many technologies in order to get the thing generating value. Some highlights from the research. The objective was that we have to increase efficiency and or increase the added value, and in the best value case, doing both. Better efficiency, more added value. What is needed, and that's a prerequisite, digitization, historical data, techniques to obtain data, knowledge, and processes with some form of predictability. And that's a very important prerequisite, because without proper digitization skills, nothing of the magic will happen and generate value for you. And people are supported by tools that enable them to perform work better. Planning, designing, realizing, maintaining, dismantling, etc., etc. It has to empower humans in order to deliver more value. Also, resources are needed, the use of AI, robotics, and especially for manufacturing and production processes. And that's needed because, for example, in the Netherlands, we have to perform more work with fewer people, because the labor market is very stressed, and we need to unlock the power of technology and make sure that the same person can deliver more value in less time, so to say. And fully fledged digitalization is key to the application of AI, robotization, and industrialization. And that convinced me that with the ARISE stepping stone, ARISE is really a stepping stone. It's the first step in becoming able to unlock the future potential of all the things presented today. And now I'm coming back to the timing, because it's a transition. So that means that you can have a very big dream today, like James has shared some of his dreams for tomorrow, but that does not guarantee the dream will be reality tomorrow. Because to make it reality, you need timing and you need skills. To understand the timing, it's very important to work with the Gartner's hype cycle, because when a technology is booming, it needs a lot of money, and to get money, you have to climb the peak of inflated expectations, so that the investors are putting tons, billions of euros and dollars into the system to make sure that there is enough feeding to get the experiments running, etc., etc. That is a bit sad, that peak of inflated expectations, because after that, you always have a race down the hill, and that's called the trough of disillusionment, because then the investor that thought I put in 1 billion and I will earn 3 billion is a bit disillusionized because he only earned 1 billion. And then they start selling stuff, etc., like you are seeing now with some big tech brands in the market. But it has to happen this way. So as a transition study person, I love to see peaks of inflated expectations, because then you know that it starts really moving. After you go through the dip, the slope of enlightenment comes, because then suddenly enterprises become aware that although they will not earn 3 billion, they can earn 1 billion. And why say no to earning 1 billion? So then they started reinvesting again, but not in the inflated sense, but in the directed sense, to make sure that the business is delivering value. And after a while, you come to the plateau of productivity where the technology starts to deliver value. When the technology is disruptive, that plateau of productivity is reached very fast. So sometimes it's reached within months.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for your time, and appreciate the other speakers. So just to give you a little bit of context about me, appreciate Barry introduced me. I suppose I'm coming from an industry point of view today. My background and my day-to-day is working in I suppose BIM consultancy and digital consultancy, and just to mention that I do work in that day-to-day for Diatec or NTI Diatec, we're now Danish owned. And just to give you context to where I'm coming from today, we provide consulting services to the construction sector for adopting new technology. So that's where I'm coming from today. Very briefly, I won't go through all these points, but just to give you a little again about my context. I'm a chartered architectural technologist. I've worked in BIM management roles, in architectural roles, and design offices, and engineering offices. And then again, my day-to-day is implementing BIM technologies and digital technologies across the sector in Ireland and further. So just to kind of get into AI and to kind of set the scene, AI requires specificity and context. And this is what I found by my experience of experimenting and seeing certain AI technologies in use. It is the context is extremely important and specificity, and you'll see this come up in some of the examples that I show as well, where it lacks specificity and actually lacks context, and that's where I see the human part is still extremely important. And the way I describe AI is that it's an assistive technology. It's not a replacement technology. It assists us, industry experts and people working in industry, to work better and to work smarter. So it's an assistant alongside what we already do. It's not here necessarily to replace any jobs. It's just to make us better at doing our jobs in the day-to-day. So still, the human part inside AI is still so important. People that use it, that people that need to learn how to use it in a way that makes their job easier, whether they're working in a private or public organization, what is the outcome that they want to achieve for AI to work for them? Is it that they need building regs to be checked, for example? What is the outcome to make their job easier, make them more efficient, make them to be able to do more as well? And like Jan had pointed to as well about the construction sector could potentially grow if we solve a lot of these problems, and I believe AI can play a huge part in that as well. So the format of what I'm going to go through is I've got a couple of videos of examples of where AI is being used and where I've tested AI as well in some of my testing environments. So I'm going to get straight into ChatGPT. Probably the I suppose where I certainly noticed AI was something to stand up and look at was when ChatGPT was released or certainly made mainstream about 2 years ago. And as an example, here we see ChatGPT in building regulations. So this was a little test that I ran in the last few days. So build well AI using the UK Construction Regs Assistant. So I typed in what's the clear door opening width for a one-bed apartment or entrance door. It gave me back the regs from the document. Now, I haven't validated these. That's certainly another area that needs to be confirmed. But the fact that I could type this in instead of looking through a guidance document to be able to retrieve these is ChatGPT was able to give me that information straight away. So again, looking at how ChatGPT and those type of technologies can assist us with allowing our designers to be able to work more efficiently and retrieve information in a very quick way. This next example I'm going to show you, this is using Microsoft Copilot, and it's using an Excel file effectively. So an Excel file for a construction project has been uploaded in this case. It's a series of RFIs or requests for information from a construction project. And I must give credit to this to Anthony on the side. He works for Autodesk. He has produced this, so I certainly can't take credit for that. So I'm just going to show you a brief little video of this running through. So this is Copilot. In this case, Copilot is asked to query about the RFIs contained within a certain file. So it's querying those RFIs within that particular file. It's generating the output of that into Microsoft Copilot. It gives the responses, so it's found all the RFIs. And then what it does is it uploads another reference document to cross-check it, to go, okay, we'll find the relationships between those RFIs that you've sought in one location in the database against this Excel file. I want you to cross-check them against it. And that's what it's doing. It's comparing the two different pieces of information here. And that's just a very simple assistive workflow that you know, could save a human or manual type of process being used at that particular stage of the project. So again, it's small wins in this case, but quite a significant saver of time. So that's just one minor example. You'll hear me refer a lot to Autodesk, just to give context. Again, that's a construction software company that I'm extensively familiar with, and that's some of the examples, just to explain that. Some of the examples I show today are actually the integrations that we see being used with Autodesk construction software. So then again, looking at ChatGPT, but in this case, what I'm looking at is something called ACC, or something you may know as BIM 360. It's a common data environment platform. There are lots of them out there. That just happens to be one of them. From Autodesk, again, this is the same resource from Anthony has generated this. So what Anthony's actually done here is uploaded documents, PDF documents, and those documents could be written meeting notes, for example, or meeting minutes taken from a design team meeting on a construction site. They're being uploaded to ChatGPT, and what we're actually asking ChatGPT to do here is to generate construction issues or tasks from that uploaded document. And what it's doing is producing issues or tasks out of that document, and it's going to create them now in the Autodesk Common Data environment. So it's automatically pulling those out of the PDF as text information. It recognizes that is actually that they are actually issues that need to be generated, and then they're brought over to the project management system inside the Autodesk platform. This project management system, by the way, could be on an iPad on site, just to give you that example. That's one other example. Another example I'm going to show you here. This example then is again using ChatGPT. It's taking a photograph of a delivery docket on site, construction site, for example. It's scanning that document and extracting the text. And what it's actually going to do now, again, it's going to talk to the Autodesk Common Data environment. It's going to extract all that information. So you can see it's taking out all delivery information purely from a photograph being taken. And it's going to recreate automatically and recreate all that information back in the Common Data environment. And the Common Data environment being that shared platform that, you know, subcontractors, main contractors would be working on throughout the project. So that's just another little assistive workflow on that one. Yes, this is one. Another similar type of workflow here is actually an integration with Slack. So with Slack in this case, again, completely different scenario, but what's actually, if any of your Slack users, for example, it's a chat and collaboration type software or platform. So again, what's happening is going to happen in this. Let's press play on that. So it's going to create an issue here, in this case with email copy and pasting. So we're going to create an issue in Slack, and it's going to recreate them in the platform. So what we're seeing here is interaction between two different platforms that are commonly used, or multiple platforms are commonly used on any construction project, and whether design stage or whether construction stage. So all those examples I showed are effectively showing that between different interactions. And again, there are lots of other common data environments out there as well that these similar connections can also be built with. I just happen to be showing the Autodesk platform. Again, those issues are then generated in that project management system. They can be assigned against people. People can be given actions and responsibility to address those particular outcomes. So that's those type of integrations. To now see, you know, integrations in a platform then, and this is where I would see across lots of different common data environments, for example, what we have here is a specification section in our common data environment. And what's now been integrated with that, for example, is very similar to what you might see with Copilot or a ChatGPT on the side. It's an AI assistant. So what we can now ask about the specification documents is, what are the concrete tests required in this project? And that's purely based on the PDF document or the specification document sitting in the common data environment already. We're just asking the question within there, please extract this information and present it to me. So what it also allows you to do then is take that information, turn it into an email. So, you know, you could be saving yourself, you know, an hour or 2 hours formulating an email, which we can all appreciate can take time. When it's complex and technical information that's generated for us effectively, or for the user, and And it also creates a link then back to the actual PDF document of where that was originated from. So you know the source of this was the provided specification from X subcontractor or from the architect or from designers. That's just another way we see AI assistance being integrated in different common data environments. Other integrations then, things like Microsoft Fabric and Copilot. So again, this is using Microsoft Copilot. So it's taking information from the common data environment. Again, it is taken from the Autodesk common data environment, and it's brought it into Microsoft Fabric. And what we can ask for from the raw data that you have available, we're asking via Copilot, I want you to generate me a bullet point list of the highest costing materials or projects inside my environment. So again, using it as an assistive tool or assistive technology alongside information that's already being generated on a project. The information is already there. We're just using these other tools, Copilot, etc., to reach into it and to assist us in enabling that or enabling us to do more efficient execution of our role or of our job, depending on where you sit in the project. Some other examples then that I see being quite seemingly quite widely used in the industry then, or where I see actually assisting quite smaller types of organisation, small architects firms, design firms, micro-sized firms. We can't forget about them in the AI story whatsoever. So things like Planner 5D, for example. So if we look at a sketch plan, maybe an architect or a surveyor has got this on site. They've surveyed a house, a small house, for example, and they've maybe sketched it out by hand using a laser measurer or a measuring tape, depending on their preferred format. And I suppose for a small architect or a micro firm, you may allow, certainly my previous experience, you may allow 4, 6, 8 hours to generate something like this, even more. This was done purely based on what the architect or designer was already doing on site, capturing the sketch. They then upload it to this Planner 5D tool, and it converts it into a 3D environment or extrusion, as well as generating the floor plan as well. So again, looking at where we can assist in roles that are already being carried out and tasks that are already being carried out, where can AI technology fit into those and just bring those small wins, saving us minutes or even hours in some cases as well. So that's Planner 5D is the name of that tool. Another image I like to use, and one I previously produced in industry, was this generated 3D image. So I generated this 3D image. I produced it in Revit. I then used the visualization tool to generate a render. It took me in and around 12 hours to generate all of this, this entire image effectively of this house, very small housing development. So that's 12 hours it took me to do that. However, when you look at the other tools, and again, in comparison, Mid-Journey AI, for example, we saw some examples of Varus being presented as well. Mid-Journey AI being another example as well. In a matter of, I would say, 15, 20 seconds, I could put in a prompt, say, create an architectural rear home extension exterior view for a terrace house in Dublin. So again, thinking about specificity there, and again, thinking about context. This generated 4 images, quite high quality images for me in a very short amount of time. So where we compare where this technology is still widely used and still extremely valuable and still has its place, certainly, but where we look at where the AI technology is, I think where this is going to reach in the future is quite exciting. Once we match that up to the requirement of, how do we use Mid-Journey AI or these type of image generators, for example, how do we use these with a specific size of a site? Again, looking at that specificity and context as well. How do we know that it complies to building regulations? And again, it's seeing where we can use these in different parts. Separate to that, Mid-Journey AI, where I see it extensively being used, is in fact as a creative assistant. So an architect may put in some prompts similar that you see on screen, and they're just looking for ideas to spark their creativity. And I think Mid-Journey and the image generation tools play a really important part in being a creative assistant, an architectural assistant, being almost another architect, just to spark ideas for an architect or designer to say, that looks good, this doesn't look good, I may do it this way, I may do it that way. for example. So I think the image generation plays quite an important part in that creative process, even when we see, you know, maybe somewhat unrealistic image or quite future thinking images, it still sparks those creative juices, I believe, for architects and for designers working with this type of technology as well. Again, looking at it in quite a futuristic way, these images were generated again, you know, 15, 20 seconds with a very quick prompt. Again, looking for, in this one, I requested a futuristic house in the year 3000 in the Irish countryside, and this is what I got back. So again, it's allowing us and assisting us to think differently, even at the creative stage. So that's Midjourney AI. Other enhancements that I see being brought into tools, for example, or into pieces of software, Other examples then that I see AI being used from construction perspective. Again, this is using the Autodesk Commandant environment. So what we're going to see here is using an iPad or mobile device on site. So this is an iPad, effectively a checklist or a form being executed on site. It could be a site inspection, quality or safety, or design type inspection. So what we're seeing here is we're going to see photographs now associated. We'll see photographs now associated with that particular form. And what the AI part that you'll see working on this is all those photographs go into a shared library in the Commandant environment. All I did was just add my signature at the end of that form. All of these photographs now go into that shared library, but that shared library will also auto tag those images. So what I'll see now when I go into my photo library, it means I can search on different images based on what's been tagged. So if I actually click on a photograph that was captured, it automatically then has tagged things like the door. It's recognized that there's conduit in there, electrical, fire seals, MEP systems. All of that is purely by AI. You just have to take the photograph. And there's lots of different systems that perform this type of function now as well. So you're seeing those different tags on the right-hand side. I could quality check them myself and go back and remove tags if I wasn't happy with them. But what that means is then after or during a construction project, I'm able to then track all of my photographs, but I can search by any of those tags that have been used as well. And so I can search by MEP systems, I can search by fire seals, skirting boards, door handles, electrical fittings. I'm able to search for those as well inside my library. So that's another AI integration that you'll see in a number of tools being used in there as well. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks again for your time. If there's no further questions, we will call it at that point. And please do check out the website for more details on the Arise project. Log on to the platform, make use of the platform links there while those materials are still available as part of the free trials, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.